Okay, ESM Goh, thank you for taking time to be with us and to speak, on digital narratives of Asia. You once aspired to be a journalist, right? And you also called yourself a reluctant prime minister. Yet you took this path, and you went on to do really well, 14 years in this political hot seat. Let us begin with some insights on you as a person. Why did you say you were a reluctant prime minister?
Well, when I graduated, I wanted to pursue my master's and then do a PhD and hopefully end up as a lecturer and eventually a professor. In other words, I wanted to be an academic, but I was bonded to serve the government, and the government called me to serve in the administrative service. Then later on, I joined Singaporean Lines, serving out some years of my bond there. Never thought of becoming a politician. I never dreamt I'll be an MP. And when I was asked to serve first as an MP, I had agreed. Later on, when I was asked to become the leader of the younger ministers, I had no choice but to agree. So reluctance is in the sense that I was not prepared when I graduated or as a young man to enter politics. But once I said yes, of course you can be reluctant. I was not fighting for the post of Prime Minister. It was given to me, but I felt that I should be responsible and decided to do it.
So you said yes, right? What went through your mind when at each point when you had to say yes,
Well, I think when I was invited by Hon Swee Sen to consider standing for elections, I asked for 3 days to think over. And it's primarily to see whether I could adjust. I never prepared myself to become, as I said, a politician, so not good in linguistic skills and hardly any Chinese and no Malays, and never did any public speaking. So you got to think whether you can do the job. Intellectually, I think there was no problem, but it's whether you could do the job politically. That's number one. And I had a bursary in university. So, but for the bursary, I would not be able to go to university and therefore finish my education there. So there was a certain sense of obligation and service.
Giving back.
Of giving back to the government, and to the country.
And even at the start, when you were considering the prime minister role, I mean, you didn't have the easiest of start. For example, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, has huge shoes to fill for you to step up to that. And he himself had said that you're not the first choice. And there are people who said that you were a seat warmer. I think there was tremendous pressure that you faced. How did you overcome that?
Well, I think it's a personal philosophy. When you're asked to do a job and you decide to do it, you just focus on what you should do. So I was never bothered by all the snide remarks. And I used to laugh. Yes, I'm a seat warmer. Question is how long you warm the seat, you see? Of course, I never expected to be warming for 14 years.
And that wasn't warming the seat.
I thought, several years, 1-2 terms, and then pass on to the next person who could do a better job. So I ignored all that. Therefore, the stress was not great. I'll just laugh at it.
Who gave you the strength?
I would say, in a sense, it's myself, because I learned to be adaptable. Like I wanted to do my master's, not allowed to do so. I never cried, I was underborn, just struck my shoulder and life moved on. Then I was working in Singaporean Lines. I was a chief executive. Then they asked me to enter politics, a new field. I said yes, and I adjusted. So when I was asked to lead the team and lead the country as Prime Minister, I can tell you, some of my colleagues were quite reluctant to even be considered because the shoes were so big. You step into the pair of shoes, you could hardly walk in them. So I decided to be comfortable in my own skin. Or as I put it then, I'm going to wear my own pair of shoes. His was too large for me. I wear my own pair of shoes, and hopefully I'll grow my pair of shoes for others. So it's a philosophy that I had.
So you're very pragmatic, you're adaptable. Did you work on your own? Or was there a mentor for you, or somewhat close circle?
No, this kind of philosophy, I think, is probably in you. No, I wanted to be a journalist, and I wanted to do English in university. But there's a streak of pragmatism in me. I decided to do economics. So that's how I think I ended up, because there was a streak, and I think there's still that streak in me. Get things done, be practical, and adapt. You see. What you cannot control, no point is sobbing about that. Just move on. You see.
How was Senior Minister then at that time, Mr. Lee? How was he as a mentor to you? Because he was the only other Prime Minister we had.
I think first, we had a very good relationship, very candid with one another, very frank. So he told me quite frankly that he preferred Dr. Tony Tan to be the Prime Minister, and he gave his reasons, and why I was the second choice. So, I mean, we just accepted it. I was quite happy. If Dr. Tan wanted to be the Prime Minister, and I said so, I would support him. I was not in this, and neither was Tony Tan in this, or Ong Ting Cheong and my other colleagues, for the power of being Prime Minister. It's just to serve the country, and we understood why. So what Mr. Lee did was to impress upon me and my colleagues that somebody has got to step forward to run the country. He'll put it this way, to us, sometimes to me, one-to-one, what happened if a bus were to run over me? So of course, we thought that's not possible. He had his security, his backup cars. He changed. What happened if the plane I was in crashed? That's quite possible, 1 in a million. What he was trying to tell us is somebody has to run the country, and he's looking for that somebody, looking for a team, you see. So mentoring started from there, injecting a sense of obligation to serve in many of us.
So that drove you?
That drove not just me, but I think my group of younger ministers.
What were the most challenging times for you, 14 years as Prime Minister?
Well, there were many crises. The Asian financial crisis in 1997, and then the September 11, 2001, the attack on the Twin Towers, the Jemaah Islamiyah plot against Singapore and other countries in the region. Then lastly, we had the SARS in 2003. So these were different crises, but each crisis was shaped the thinking differently. First, the financial crisis. That's economic in nature.
That's your background as well.
The tigers, or tiger economies became, overnight, whimpering kittens. So we lost our reputation as tiger economies, and the GDP shrank. We had to cope with potential job loss, anxiety, uncertainty, where the economy will grow. So the economic side was very important, I think, for the team and for me to show leadership. And not just that, we had also to show leadership within the region. Singapore was less affected than other countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. So we had to show some leadership in getting the leaders over here to look at the problem as a region, as a group in ASEAN. Then the Jemaah Islamiyah plot and the terrorism threat. The danger for us was not so much security, although that was very important. Yeah. It's more what the impact would be on our society. If a bomb had gone off, perpetrated by a group of Muslim terrorists, there'd be confusion, there'd be division within the country. Were all Muslims like that? I mean, those would be the questions asked. So the priority was to assure Singaporeans that we were a multiracial society, multi-religious community, and that is what Singapore was and should be. You see. So that was the greater concern. Whether something happened, the impact might reverberate throughout the whole community. You see. Then that one SARS. SARS, of course, was a very physical thing. It's a life and death for many of us. So that was a frightening episode.
For yourself as Prime Minister at that time, did you have a mentor?
The mentor would be Lee Kuan Yew. From the very beginning, as a political mentor, and throughout my career, he was always there as a member of the cabinet, not just to me, but to many of the cabinet ministers. He would not interfere with our decision. He would not tell us what to do. He gave us a lot of space. But from where he was, if you could see that certain ideas could be improved, he would then offer his views to us. And communication was very important. He would sometimes tell us, maybe put it this way, then it's better understood by the people. So he's mentor to the whole group. So of course, my mentor in that sense too.
So he was your go-to in some ways? Were you like pick up the phone and call? Because as we spoke to different leaders in the region, they talked about...
I don't normally go to him. I was the Prime Minister, he would come to me. You know,
so there are not in that sense, but were there others, you know, that you would consult?
I meant in the literal sense, but also, because protocol was very important. I respected him as a senior, as a mentor, as a teacher. And I did tell him, you know, maybe I'll go to your room to discuss certain things, you see. Often we do it on the telephone, but certain things we discuss face to face. He'll say, no, you are the Prime Minister. I'll come to your room. I said, no problem, Mr. Lee, you know. Of course, I called him Senior Minister at that time. He said, no problem. But he made a point that I was the Prime Minister. He must show respect to me. Had he not shown respect to me, others watching, you know, civil servants, the security officers, they would say, well, if Mr. Lee did not show respect to the Prime Minister, we can follow him. We don't have to show too much respect, you see. So you learn something from there. That, you know, whilst personally protocol was not important, but to the public, you see, certain form must be observed. So that's teaching you in a way, without telling me that he was teaching me, you see, observe certain protocol. Even though privately you could be very, very, you know, comfortable with one another.
Was it a lonely journey as Prime Minister?
No, my colleagues were okay. I was sociable, so I was quite open, consultative, so not much of a problem.
You were also huge on consultative approach.
Yeah.
What made you take that stance?
Again, I think it's the time, you know, time has changed, and also personality. First, personality. I was not Lee Kuan Yew, and I decided I could not govern Singapore as a Lee Kuan Yew. People would laugh at me, you know, because you did not have his personality. You wanted to be feared, but people might not fear you, see, because that's not your character. Or I did not even have a thuggish look like Mr. Lee had. So you just decide, don't try to follow him. Be yourself. Be yourself, just number one. And my style normally would be more to engage people, to consult in the sense I gave people a sense that they are participating in the decision making, not just with my ministers, but also with Singaporeans. You see. It's your country, let's engage one another. That's one. And two, different period. By my time, when I took over, Singapore was a middle income country. We were still not emphasizing economic growth, trying to improve people's lives, but not struggling to survive. It's the least time, you know, we are struggling to survive, no room for mistake, as to put it, no nonsense. He had been elected to be a Prime Minister, he decided, you see. In my case, different time, I said no, engage the middle class, engage Singaporeans, so more consultative.
Did people take well to it, you think?
Most people did, but the older people, you know, I knew, the older, perhaps members of Parliament, Mr. Lee's generation, and even Mr. Lee himself said, what is this, consulting, take a decision, decide, move on, you see.
And how did you deal with that?
We just listen, you know, but be myself. So that's advice from him, but you know, you got to be yourself. And myself, as I said, I was not Lee Kuan Yew, so I govern in my own way.
And yourself, you did well, 14 years.
No, and I decided, you know, that the way to govern for myself is to become, you know, in the image of Singaporeans, a trustee for Singapore. That means please respect me, please trust me, I'm sincere, I look after you, I'm a trustee. I'm not like Mr. Lee, you see, So that was the image I was putting on. And this idea also came from Mr. Lee. I mean, after a while he understood me, that I refused to govern like him.
So that was a mental model that you had with you, yeah? All the time to be a trustee or
Yes, he put the idea, because he realized that I refused to govern like him and I could not govern like him. He said, well, in that case, build up an image of being a trustee of Singaporeans. So, I mean, that just suited me.
Yeah, that suited you. You led the PAP through 3 GEs. The first one, the results was less than stellar. What went through your mind that night? Do you remember?
That night I was sorely disappointed. And I showed it in my face. And I said it, you see. That's exactly what happened. Because when I took over from Mr. Lee, there was actually a sense of relief in many people that finally transition had taken place. People recognized that Mr. Lee had done a very good job, but he was also a toughie. A lot of, shall we say, unpopular policies. Mr. Lee wanted to push through. Graduate mother policy, and a few others, you see, CPF, deferring the withdrawal age. So people welcomed my taking over. Therefore, I expected bigger support. It did not come, so I felt maybe, when I put it, maybe the style was not quite what they liked, so I have to change certain things. So it's just a night of disappointment for me.
How do you recover from that?
Well, after a while, it's what you could not control, let's not spend too much time on that. Then you start to analyze what happened. Was it because I was not doing a good job? Or was it because, the mood was that way? And I was consoled by many people. Say, had you not led the election, the results would be worse under Mr. Lee. That's academic. So you analyze the reasons why, make certain changes, and then of course, make sure you got a good program to win people over, their hearts and their minds for the next election.
In the next 2 elections, Singapore gave you a really strong mandate, right? And how much do you think was the result of your consultative style of leadership, of winning over people's hearts, having people understand your policies, giving you feedback?
I think that's only one aspect. Should not be overemphasized that because your style was different, you're more likable, people supported you. The key factor was the results in the economy. Were people's lives getting better? And that's not purely due to the government. That government played a very important part. The external circumstances also helped. So at that time, there was a more benign external environment, there was growth, and the economy grew by 7-8%, 9-10% and so on in some years. So people felt that their lives were getting better. That's the key, you see. Of course, we played a very big part, but the circumstances outside helped us a lot.
Let's take the discussion a little bit beyond Singapore per se.
Yeah,
we talked about what happened internally, but during your time as PM, Indonesia, for example, went through 4 presidents, right? What was the situation like for you when there were leadership changes in the region? How do you establish yourself and re-establish yourself with the leaders?
I think first, Suharto. We had known him for many years. I was privileged to have met him when Mr. Lee was the Prime Minister, so he got to know me, maybe casually, as a Deputy Prime Minister. Later on, as Prime Minister, I worked very well with him. A man of honor, focused on developing Indonesia and on establishing good relations with the neighbors. And Singapore, Indonesia enjoyed very good relations. So that night, when the riots took place in Jakarta, I watched what happened, and looked at him being pilloried. I just felt very sad for him, because we knew that the consequence could be chaotic situation for Indonesia. So he left. Then the question was, how do we get on with the leaders? Habibie, I knew him too. He was the Minister for Science and Technology, so we got to know him very well. So when he took over, it was not an issue of somebody new to us. I met him many times, so we just worked with him. The key is, in Singapore, we cannot choose leaders outside Singapore. You have to learn to work with the leaders outside, whoever they are. That's the key diplomatic skill that Singapore must have. So Habibie, we worked with him. Some instances we had some problems. Little red dot. No, we just accepted it. That's Habibie. Yeah. But try to work with him. In other words, focus on the essentials of relations between both countries. What's the nub of the issue between both countries? How do we get on? How do we help them to do better? And how can they help us to do better? So that's the way to get on with the leaders outside.
In the broader ASEAN arena, Singapore also fared really well under your leadership. You were the mastermind, the Asia-Europe meeting, ASEM, was your brainchild. What was the thinking behind that?
At that time, China was emerging as a very important economy and country. So the thinking was, how do we get China to be closer to the Europeans and also ASEAN? ASEAN, after the financial crisis, suffered quite a fair bit in reputation. So I wanted to have a link, ASEAN, China to Europe. So I put it this way, there were three big economic blocs in the world: US by itself, US, Canada, and so on, then Europe, then Asia. US and Europe, they had their Atlantic relationships, very strong, NATO and many other political relationships. Then America, Asia, we had APEC. So there was a link, but there was no link between Europe and Asia. Even Japan, with Europe, not such strong links as a country with Europe. So that was a missing link. So it came as a flash, I said, that's a missing link. How do I put it across to the Europeans? I was going to France for my official visit, so I refined the idea, put it to the French. I said, that's a missing link. I'll play my part in Asia. Would you play your part in Europe? You gather your friends, I gather my friends. We have this meeting called ASEAN. And the attraction for the Europeans, to be very frank, was not ASEAN, was China. Because at that point of time, China was still not out internationally as an active member. And access to the Chinese leaders was very difficult. So they all felt, this meeting is a good idea. China will be there.
So it was like a gateway, right?
Like
Southeast Asia created, was like a bridge to China. That was the attraction for them.
That's the attraction for them. But my goal was ASEAN. If you can get Europeans to pay more attention to ASEAN, we can also improve the standings and the relevance of ASEAN to Europe.
ASEAN at that time had its challenges, and over the years it's changed. Tell us more about this, how you see ASEAN has evolved and the challenges it has faced since your time.
Well, since my time, it's evolved into a more recognizable unit. And the key there was the ASEAN Economic Community, plus the ASEAN Forum, regional forum. So they gave ASEAN better entities. The regional forum was quite clear. There's discussing foreign affairs, security issues, and so on. But it was done by ASEAN. In other words, ASEAN became relevant to the others. And ASEAN was central in this, in organizing the regional forum. The economic community gave the leaders here a sense of purpose, that there was an end goal for ASEAN. Before that, we gathered, we talked, many programs, many measures, they were implemented. But what's the end goal? And the end goal should be a tighter economic community. And from there, they move on to a tighter political, social community, security community. So it's evolved into a tighter community in that sense. Cohesive, I think room for more cohesion.
What's the challenge there?
The challenge is actually our own domestic politics. If each country could do better in terms of economic development, in terms of political stability, then there will be more room for us to look outside our own country to establish a bigger ASEAN. Far too many of us are bogged down in tackling our own domestic politics and economic challenges.
ASEAN turns 50 this year, or is 50 this year. What is a key challenge you see for ASEAN moving forward?
I think the key challenge will be to maintain its relevance to people outside. ASEAN to us may be important, but if the Europeans, the Americans don't regard ASEAN as an effective regional entity, then ASEAN's relevance will decrease. So to be relevant, ASEAN must be seen to be upholding certain values, core values. One would be to maintain the present international order based on rule of law, based on free trade. That's important, you see. More inclusive of all countries in the world, trade could flow. So that's a core value for us. The openness of the international system based on rules and so on. That's important. Secondly, ASEAN must be able to also think what role it can play as a central entity. The regional forum, ASEAN Regional Forum, is a good example. The other countries will find it difficult to get together and meet, but we could do so as ASEAN because we are neutral. 10 countries, neutral, we could play that central role. So these are two important core values that ASEAN can show to the rest of the world.
What would you say to current and future leaders, right? If there's one thing they could do as a leader to ensure the success of ASEAN, what would that be?
Well, I think spend more time with one another and think on how we can prosper our neighbors, which therefore will prosper ourselves, and make ASEAN more cohesive and more effective as a regional organization.
Some leaders we've spoken to have talked about that. In the past, the leaders can call on to each other easily and chat, and there was a lot more time and space, to develop that kind of relationship. But given the pace of the way the world is today, there's lesser time for these relationships to develop. You think that's true?
I don't know about time, but I could make this observation. During my time, there was more personal engagement. I could, for example, play golf with President Ramos. He would ask me, let's go and play golf. When I went to the Philippines, he came here, we'll play golf. Prime Minister Thaksin, same thing. And Prime Minister Hun Sen, who did not play golf, I told him golf very necessary, to get on with other leaders. He took up golf, and we started playing golf. So there was more that personal engagements during my time. I don't know whether it's myself and the others, but I think the others also they engaged with one another. Dr. Mahathir had also good personal relations with the others, with some other leaders. Not with all the leaders, that's not possible, but at least with most of the leaders. So today, I find that maybe the demands of the world and the pressure of domestic politics are such that the leaders had less time for one another in a personal sense. But mind you, they do meet. They have their retreats. Prime Minister Lee and Najib had their retreats. Then PM Lee also with the Thais, not so much retreat, but regular meetings. And with President Jokowi too, they had their retreats. But that's not taking place between the other leaders. Say Philippines, Indonesia, I don't see that.
So these are things that...
the personal element today, in my view, is absent.
In bringing this to a close, I'd like to turn the attention back to you. If you had to name just one, okay, what would you say was a key event in your time that kind of defined you as a leader?
I think outside Singapore, I would say the emergence of China would be a key geopolitical event. It's a fact that China will become stronger, and China becoming stronger will become more muscular in its actions against its neighbors. But China offered still offers many opportunities. But China also becomes a competitor, a competitive threat, not a security threat, but competitive. So whatever we can do, China can do. And China believes they can do better. So that's the challenge. China thinks they can do better than us in many areas. Can we do better than China in some areas, which gives Singapore the advantage and allows us to make a living for Singapore, to sustain our high standard of living. So that's a key challenge we should define, me as a leader. How do you position Singapore against the rise of China as a competitor, and using opportunities in China and having good relations with China,
What continues to drive you today? Because you have not slowed down. You continue to go out there and build relations for Singapore.
I had spent so many years. It'd be a total waste if I had just retired and then said, "Oh, you chaps take over the job. No, I've done enough." What do? Cut grass or gardening or rear birds and so on, or play golf. Some people retire that way, but your brain, I think, will go down the drain very quickly. And occasionally, the government, especially MFA, would ask me, could I do certain things? Could I meet certain people? I say, yes, by all means. I know them. They wanted to see me. I'm happy to see them. So that's one area where I still could contribute to Singapore.
What keeps you happy every day?
Keeps me happy every day that, I open my eyes, I got something to do. Something useful.
All right. Thank you so much
yes,
for your time. Thank you for spending this morning with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.